Hey everyone. Hey everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight for our every other week series of conversations against hate. We are here tonight with Derek Arledge, and we are so excited. He is coming to us live from Assateague Island in Maryland, the state park side, and he is anxiously awaiting to see some horses. I'm Tammy, and I am just going to be introducing Derek, and then we'll be turning the conversation over to John. And Derek, we're so glad that you're with us tonight. For those of you who don't know Derek,
thank you.
He started his hockey playing career in 1990 with the Capitol Boys Hockey Club. He played for Gonzaga. I probably did not say that 100% correctly. And also with the Baltimore Junior Bandits. And from there in college, he skated on Penn State's ACHA Division II team. And while he was at Penn State, Derek started coaching with the Penn State Lady Icers. After that, he continued coaching at his high school alma mater, Gonzaga in Washington, as well as coaching with the Baltimore Stars and the Cambridge, Massachusetts youth hockey organizations. So he's got a pretty good hockey resume.
Woo.
Presently, yeah, we're excited. Presently, Derek coaches the Bishop O'Connell Varsity 2 team, and he is also the head coach for the UMBC hockey team, where he's rebuilding their program. He also coaches with Kids on Ice at Fort DuPont and with Wolf Hockey Development. In 2016, Derek started the Chesapeake Regional Hockey Review and made that official in 2017. His background is in kinesiology, health and human performance, and he's also worked in public health. Derek trains private clients to become better and stronger athletes. When he's not working, he loves spending time with his wife and kids. And on those rare occasions when he has some spare time, Derek can be found with pen and paper in hand writing, and he also enjoys running on the beach. But today, he is just looking for ponies in Assateague. So welcome, Derek. We're so excited that you're here. And I am going to turn this over to John and you, Derek, and I'm going to watch on Facebook Live.
All right.
So,
sounds good. Thank you, Tammy.
See everybody.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining in. We're doing things a little different this week. As you can see, we're on Facebook Live versus Instagram. That's a big change. And Derek, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us.
Oh, thank you for having me. As you may see me do certain expressions or talk to my family as I go along.
Oh, no worries at all. So, big news in hockey today. A lot going on. As I'm sure you're aware of.
Oh, yeah.
NHL Players Association decided to postpone play today.
Woo!
And that's
wow, man, we're in some different times.
Different times. It's important to remember that it's the players that make up the Players Association. And it's
oh, yeah.
the players who made the choice. It wasn't the league. And when you talk about any type of association, any type of union, it's the workers or the players who make that choice. So we'll start off with that. And with everything surrounding Jacob shooting. First of all, what's your response to all these sports deciding to postpone?
Go there. Sorry. I think it's tough, for one, but it's understandable. You can see in the players' faces as they postpone games in a very different time where none of them normally play. Only WNBA and MLB play right now. NHL and NBA don't. So that's one hurdle to get over. It's like, man, we're not even really supposed to be playing right now. We're in our off season. But because of course the pandemic they're playing now, uh, I just think it's a brave thing to do. It's a needed thing to do to bring attention. I know a lot of us. I love sports, but I agree sports can wait. I mean, definitely when you're trying to avoid insanity and doing the same thing over and over again, and that's just playing through. Something happens. Leagues, players play through it. They get asked questions by reporters. Protests happen, and then the cycle just goes on and on and on. And then now it's like, okay, wait, we're not playing. We're not going to play until something better happens. And that's a little different. That doesn't normally happen. So that's kind of good to see that in terms of people wanting change, that they're actually wanting change and to do something different about it, how they go about it. We can go over here.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a similar resemblance to when Muhammad Ali stepped out of Vietnam. I think all
Yes.
the rhetoric surrounding it is the same type of rhetoric against what people were saying around that time.
Oh, yes, definitely. He threw his medal in the river, didn't he?
So
I remember that, too.
yeah, now given that most of sports was shown yesterday's games, why do you think the NHL was behind the curve with it?
I was thinking about this, like, man, they're trying, and then and of course, today we see they did it. I think maybe within the NHL, they're thinking about it as a numbers solution, and I don't think that's the right way to go. What I mean by that is, you look at their fan base, and it's like, well, our fan base isn't predominantly minority like the NBA, the WNBA, and the MLB. You remember, there's a lot of minorities in MLB, and our player base isn't like that either. So then it's not our issue. But instead of thinking that way, that's a little more selfish, you should think like, hey, we're professional athletes, and our other friends and other leagues are affected by this, and they're doing something about it. So I think we should do something about it as well. I think sports in general, when something like this happens and it affects your fan base, because so many people like all those leagues, I think all the leagues should get together, all the player associations should get together and say, hey, so we're not going to play tonight. What about you guys? Will that upset people? Yeah, it will. Will it bring about change? It probably will too. Hopefully it will. But I don't think one league should just suffer unless like within the league. Like I'm just going to use an example. Let's say NHL players are showing up late to practice and they don't really care. Well, then the NBA and the WNBA and the MLB don't have to sit out. But the NHL can come to grips and be like, look, we got to do something about this. But when it affects everyone, I can see why, how, and it's needed for all the leagues to just say, look, let's, as a unit, because we are a unit, just like the body, we're a unit. And I'm going into my other profession with sports performance and fitness, the leg's broken. And we're an arm, the left arm. I know people probably heard this analogy so many times. The left arm, our right arm is fine, we're fine, our left leg is fine. As a quick little like kinese example here, your right leg's broken. Your whole body's affected. The whole body's affected. When you have a limb come into play, you don't see it because it's not hurt, but they support. And I think that's where society is. If you imagine I want to say racism, and if you imagine just this police brutality and everything, and what's going on for centuries, imagine that right leg just affected. I mean, is your left leg going to ignore it? It shouldn't, because you need two legs to walk and run and skate and all that. You're a whole unit. Is your right arm going to care? It should, because it helps it balance. So I think that each league supports one another, and they should, and it's an impact. When you look on the TV, especially now with the pandemic, and you're waiting for normalcy to life, and sports comes back, you're like, phew, And now sports are like, well, we're going to call it quits for a little bit until the rest of this nation gets themselves together. Because they pretty much have themselves together. They're in a bubble. Like, they're in bubbles, and they're cooperating at a level they've never had to do before. And stuff's still chaotic. So they're like, look, we're not going to be your entertainment, even though we're entertainment. We're not going to be your entertainment until other stuff is safer, because it could be one of us.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's also important that, given the circumstances that we're in right now with the pandemic,
Yeah.
that being able to disrupt peacefully by stepping off of the ice or stepping off of the field, people who might see it and just flip past, say, "Oh, it doesn't concern me." This is a way they can really impact somebody's normalcy. Where, "Oh, I was going to get together and watch the game tonight. I can't now, and I have to listen to. This is the reason why." Whether you want to hear it or don't want to hear it, they're going to hear this is the reason why they're not playing.
Right.
So you've been playing hockey for a little bit now.
I have been.
So when did you first realize that there was a racism problem within hockey?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I was always taught, like, hey, be careful out there. But I always looked at hockey as a sport that I love. And I still love it, always will love it. I love the NHL. I really loved the college game. I fell in love with that college game when I moved to New England, and just, it was great seeing D1 a lot. But I didn't realize it until two instances for me. I was a bantam playing in a tournament in Pensacola, New Jersey. We were actually playing another CBHL team, and I was called an N-word during the game. And I was like shocked. I was like, dang, this happens? Like, I'm 13 or however old I was. I don't know how old I was. I was around 13 years old, I believe. And I was shocked. No one heard it. No one came to my defense because nobody heard it. Refs were like, we didn't hear it. I just remember being in the locker room just ticked off. I was like, what in the world? And they were saying, oh, it's part of the game. And right then, as a 13-year-old kid, 12-year-old kid, I'm like, it's not part of the game. That's not part of the game. No. You can chirp and stuff, but that's not part of the game. I mean, when I think about that, and I still remember the player who did it, his last name and everything, first name, where he went to high school and all that stuff. And I just think that he doesn't even know, now that I'm older, I don't even know if he knows what he said. Like, the meaning behind that word is just so deep. And to have a younger generation say that, mention that a word that occurred centuries ago, it's like, man, what do you know about that word? Probably nothing. At least you shouldn't. To the point where you can call another teenager that. The other instance, supposedly my mom said that we shook hands in the lobby. I do not remember that, but I guess we did. She's not, I don't remember that, but we probably did. Second instance was actually another CBHL team. This time it was local. And I remember we were at Tucker Road playing, and I remember the guy checked me, another N-word incidents, and I'm just walking along the shore here, so I keep going back. Here you go. Maybe you guys a good background. Here's the background. I'm going to sidestep it. He checked me. I was like, all right, number whatever. That's all I said. All right, number 34. I don't know what number he was. And he said, all right, N-word. And I was like, oh, this is going to happen again. I was like, okay. I see that again. Told my coach, told Cat. Yeah, that's how it goes. I know it's not part of the game. This happened 2 years ago. All right, cool. Got this team marked on my calendar again. I can't wait to play them again later in the year. We play them on their home rink, and I remember him.
Still with me, Derek?
And he missed. He tried to take my knees out, and he missed. And I was like, ha! But he broke my stick. So I was like, cool, I'll get another stick. Yeah, we were losing that game. And I remember reading an article that Mike Greer said. Mike Greer played, for those who know or don't know, played at BU, Boston University. He went to St. Sebastian's up in Boston, played for many years in the NHL. I read a SI, Sports Illustrated article where his mom said, look, if they ever call you the N-word out there, you ever want to get mad, you fight back with goals. And as you see, he scored goals in college. He scored goals in the NHL too. It wasn't no OB, but he scored goals. It wasn't no OB. I remember getting the puck. I was playing defense in offensive zone. Seconds left, it's ticking down. Let's get the puck on my stick with an goal. I turn around to the parent section of that team and just pump my fist like yes, and just I was so happy because I didn't take the fact that I scored the tying goal for my team. I took the fact that I scored the tying goal, and your jackass player over here is, y'all probably don't care or know what he called me. Well, this is for you guys. So have a good ride home, you all, because we are. So that was my whole thing about that. And my first instances of really racism in hockey, not just racism, but racism in hockey was age 12 or 13 and 15, 13 and 16, I think.
Yeah, and I will say for me, growing up in New Jersey, obviously I didn't experience, but I didn't hear about it until I heard the story up here, which sparked off of the recreational players against hate. It's unfortunate that in 2020 we're still talking about this.
Yeah, definitely.
Now,
Ocean back there.
absolutely beautiful behind you. Now, do you feel that things regarding race have changed since you're playing as a 13-year-old to where we are now?
Yeah. What you said? What? I missed the first part.
Do you feel that issues regarding race in the rink have changed from when you were 13 to where we are now?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm going to say yes, they have. Even though that doesn't mean instances don't happen. Incidents don't happen. As you saw with Devine, when I saw that brought back memories of what happened when I was younger. And I was like, man, this is still happening for real. But the fact that, and what I really loved was the support that he got. But that's when I first learned about Tammy and what she's doing with Players Against Hate. I was like, that things have changed. He's got help right away, and it got national attention. So I was like, stuff is changing in terms of the support. Now, words, I mean, some kids may slip up 10 years from now and say something, but I think, sometimes kids are kids. Sometimes they really just don't know. People say stuff to get you off track, especially if you are impactful in a game and in sports. But I think what's more important is the support you get. Because imagine if that happened, not just to Divine, but anybody else. I know it's happened across the nation and world and in other sports too. Imagine if those happen and no one says anything. We haven't gone anywhere. If no one says anything, we haven't gone anywhere. There's no movement or change or teammates sticking up for one another. We haven't gone anywhere. And I think that's what happened back when I was a teenager and that happened. Folks are like, whoa, this is new. We've seen it in baseball, Jackie Robinson and all that, going up to that time. But whoa, youth hockey, what's going on? What's going on? There's more minorities in the sport. I don't know the exact number. I know for myself, the only time I was the only black player was when I was in college. That was it. Growing up, I either had a teammate or two or three, and I had my only black coach my senior year of high school, the Bandits, Emerson Sanders. For those who know, that's Henri Sanders' dad. Great coach, loved him. And that was, but I was never intimidated. I was never intimidated being the only black person on the ice at any point, or even in school if it happened. Never, ever, never felt uncomfortable. It was just like I focused towards my goal. So I think kids are more equipped and focusing towards their goal. They get the support. I hope they get the support. I also hope that they get the encouragement to carry on and not quit. It's hard when you hear kids say, I quit because of racism or I quit because of being bullied or something, because that's just not part of these sports. It's supposed to be encouraging and hopefully lifelong, or maybe some life lessons in it that kids can learn from, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you spoke about organizations starting to pull out when they're having those instances. And even at the NHL level, you're starting to see if somebody says that type of slur on their social media, the team is real quick to nip that in the butt and say, hey, you're not a fan of ours if you
Oh
think
yeah.
this. And that's recent. And I think 2017 was the first time that a team really stepped up and nipped that in the butt right away.
Oh yeah. That's what you need. Nip it in the bud. Nip it. As you see, I mean, why we're here now is because it wasn't nipped in the bud. With everything from racism and any type of act of racism. I'm not just talking about physical. It wasn't nipped in the bud in 1963 or 1863 or 1763 and anything like how. Well, the higher ups did not go all out to end this. People can say, yeah, but the slaves were freed. That's just that's a little bit right there. Because as you see, 100 years after that, there was a civil rights movement. So it wasn't nipped, and it slowly and you know what? I just got a book from the library. It's called "This Is the Day." This is the day about the March on Washington, and you can kind of see like, all right, there was a march then, and you see all the heads. Here's the changing thing: the support too, mostly African Americans, and then you see the march, the jobs march in the 80s. Again, another march, kind of the same type of issues and everything. But you see the faces start changing, starting to get more multicultural. And now we have another one, I believe, this weekend. Do you think there's going to be mostly Black people there? It's going to be mixed. It's going to be mixed. You see all these protests happening. Granted, I'm not a big fan of violence at all. And unfortunately, when you think about this last shooting, the 17-year-old, look, and it's unfortunate. Look what happened. Look who he shot. It needs to stop. But what I mean by that is, we have a diverse fight now, and that's what we definitely need. We need a diverse fight because it affects everyone. It affects every single race and creed with this. It's not just one race. It's probably one race that has had this happen in history. I mean, they've had the onslaught, think about slavery, civil rights, and Jim Crow, but it affects every single person. It's that 6 degrees of separation right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless we as a society make it concern everyone, it's never going to change. So it's important to keep this not in a violent way, but obviously keep disrupting in small steps as you can normal life, like they're doing with postponing these games and postponing sports, to make it so you can't turn away from these issues.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say too. I should definitely say something about my faith too. That's a big part of being through everything as well too. That happened as a youth, or now than it was when I was a teenager and starting out in hockey. But my family's eating food. I cooked food today too. I like to cook, and I hope they're eating my food. Otherwise, I'd have some repercussions here. But that's a big thing. I read Dr. Tony Evans. He's I don't know where he has his ministries out in Texas, I think. But he says something like, against in terms of sociology, you can't have sociology without theology. I totally agree. Even if you struggle with your faith too, it's like it's in some way beyond our thoughts some way, because we are having a hard time coming to an answer. But it's like we need something extra, something to help us to some degree, whether it's a group of people that understand or a whole bunch. We need some type of movement, some type of outer effect. It's a good effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know you're there with your kids right now. Now, do they play hockey as well?
They're fine right now. My son does. He comes out with me when I coach on kids on ice.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see I'll see when I put him in on a team. Not quite yet. Getting close. He's rollerblading a lot this summer, so his skating's getting better.
Yeah.
I just can't wait to see him on the ice again. And then my daughter, She plays on our street, so we named it the King of Hockey Arena. It's just street behind the house, whatever. And but she hasn't actually skated a lot on the ice, and I don't know. I really don't know if she's going to play hockey. She might do other skating and stuff, but she might not play. She could.
Now, what do you tell them as a parent to prepare them for or when they experience racism?
Oh, that's a good question. We say it happens. They don't. My wife and I, we're honest with them. Like, hey, this has happened in history. This has happened to me. It could happen to you. It doesn't have to happen to you, but it happened. It could. And this is what you do when you're ready. Don't just resort to physical action. I hope not. I just hope it never happens. In terms of sports, though, if it happens, I mean, you look at a sport like hockey, and it's almost like, as a coach, am I going to say, hey, what happened? Oh, he called me so and so. Well, why did you hit him? It's almost like, all right, he deserved it. He hit him.
Yeah.
And I said, if it happened to me a third time in hockey, I was going to go apes on someone, just straight up, kick me out of the rink if you have to. That's how it felt. Sport like that's a little different. I guess baseball where it's not a whole bunch of fighting. It's kind of like, well, what can you do? How, to a degree, juniors on up. But hopefully you can kind of harness it in. I want them to understand that in terms of words, derogatory words being told to them, how to get over it, knowing that, well, one, it's not your issue, it's theirs. They think that they're intimidated for some reason. You're not whatever they might have called you. You could, and it takes strong skin. You could laugh it off. You could chirp back, depending on what you can chirp back. You can ignore it, but I would definitely tell your coach, hopefully a player on your team hears it, especially your captain, because people listen to the captain. At the time when it happened to me, my captain was one of my closest friends, who I've been coaching with for a while. He's at my wedding and everything. I told him, but what could he do? He didn't hear it. However, I told him, he told the coach. I did felt like I had an ally right there. And we weren't having that stuff. But until then, just know that whatever someone calls you, you're not it. That's not you. People will say stuff to throw you off your game. And it's kind of like, if they throw you off your game, it's almost like they won. Like, well, they dust off themselves. I won. But if you are out there to call you something, you go out and you get 20 points or 3 goals or something. Well, who's won then? I think you did. Then we'll discuss it again. I think it involves experiences. It may happen. It involves education on how to avoid these situations, but also how to deal with them.
Absolutely. Now, I know you, especially with the hockey review, you look at a ton of different hockey organizations around the area. And you've mentioned before that there's a lack of color it's growing, but there is still a lack of color in hockey in the area. Why do you think that there's not more diversity in our area? And do you think that there's change coming?
What was the last part? Changing?
Do you think that there is a change coming?
Oh, yeah, I got my hoodie on too for my review, and I'm hot just for this moment. That is not a fake backdrop. That is the ocean, but I'm hot in this hoodie.
It's about 98 degrees in Maryland.
It's funny. Oh my gosh, I got the flash bite me too. It's funny because I just passed Easton's ice rink on the way here, and I haven't been to Easton ice rink in a while. And I passed the Salisbury exit and Center. I didn't pass Center Ice. Obviously, that's rural Maryland, Delaware area. I was just thinking, like, man, I should have gotten out and taken a photo because I need a photo of that rink. That's my photo. I think, yes, a change will come. Yes, it will. I think it definitely will as communities grow. Also, as marketing grows too. The Ovechkin effect helps so much. And then the Stanley Cup win, that really helps our area. I think marketing is big. That Ferris wheel in Ocean City looks cool. It's green. I think that the marketing definitely helps. I think the peer pressure actually helps too, like getting someone to I'm getting tore up by these slides. I'm okay. That helps. Like that's what happened to me. How I got into playing. One of the reasons why I got into playing. After school programs help too. That's how I got into skating. I got into skating through an after school program. My grade school when I was younger, Capital Day School we'd go to Fort DuPont and skate every now and then. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then my friend, the same friend who was the captain, about the instance I said, I went spent the night over his house when I was 8. He was like, hey, Derek, Billy Bryant, he coaches Kids on Ice. He head coach of the Kids on Ice program for hockey. He was like, hey, we got to wake up at 6:30 in the morning, or 6. I was like, okay, 6. I was like, wait, 6 is Saturday. We don't wake up that early? That's too early. What are you doing? It's because he had Mike's practice at Fort DuPont, Cowboys Hockey Club. We don't exist anymore. But when we did, we used Tucker Road Wells and Fort DuPont. And I remember sitting in the stands in Fort DuPont, think about Fort DuPont, 6:30 in the morning. I mean, 8 years old. I'm just like, wow, like, I'm looking at them do drills. I'm like, this is a really cool sport. Like, yeah, I could play this sport. So 2 years after that, I picked it up. And I think that peer pressure helped. Like, hey, you're going with me to my practice. Like, okay, that's cool. And it was really nice. I've already seen it. Like, this seeing, go to a rink and it's like you see someone who's a minority playing the sport. It's like, wow, you got rinks around here. Doesn't have to be Fort DuPont. Fort DuPont is in a predominantly black neighborhood. It's in a black neighborhood, but you can go anywhere. You can go to Laurel. You can go to Ion. You can go to let's name some rinks out here. Really, any rink you just see. Compared to when I was younger, the numbers have changed, and it's good. It's great for the sport. I like it. I really like it. And I did mention this in another Zoom call I was on earlier this year. My most yearning, I guess you should say, the thing that hurts the most is when you get a black player who is discouraged from the sport because another black coach of another sport says, don't go play hockey. That's a white sport. That actually hurts the worst. That hurts bad because that's someone in your own race not happy with what you're doing or for where you're excelling or trying to excel. And that stings. I've heard a couple kids have had that experience, and they might have either just dropped the sport later on, maybe to go to a sport, or just really didn't pursue their potential in ice hockey. And I'm like, why people say that? I do not know. It really is a sport for everyone. I mean, it's a dynamic, athletic sport that anyone can play and work at.
Yeah, and absolutely. And going back to discouraging people to play, and that's been going on since before Willie O'Ree of Conn Smythe, when I can't remember his name offhand, but there was an African Canadian player would have been, who Conn Smythe said, now I'll quote this exactly, I'll give $10,000 for anyone who could turn him white to play for me.
Oh, was that Herb Carnegie?
That was Carnegie, yes.
They said to him?
Herb Carnegie. Yes, that's the name.
Yeah.
And that's how long that's been going on.
Yeah.
And it hurts my soul to know how many hockey players, how many great players we would have missed.
I know. I know. I just had to persevere through it. Just keep going, no matter. I mean, I think that's the reason why Willie O'Ree stopped playing with the Bruins. At least what I read in an article. I could be wrong. Just the name calling, the shouts from the crowd. So you do have to build some thick skin. Even as a coach, I never had that happen to me as a coach, but I know other people have had that happen. So one point in terms of support is not being selfish and just saying, well, it never happened to me. And that's what I've been reading across social media. If something happens to a group of black people or one person, and then you get another group of black people just like, well, it never happened to me. It doesn't exist. It's like, can you stop with the I and never happened to you? Because there's a group that it's happening to, or there's a group that it's not happening to, but they care about the group that it's happening to. And I think teaching through it, experiences, education, and that support group really helps us. Just everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. It also just goes at just basically showing a little bit of empathy for fellow humans.
Yeah.
Online of a lot of it. Now, through your coach experience, you've coached a variety of age groups and a
Yes.
huge diversity of players. What do you tell your players about responding to racist taunts on the ice?
I had a phone call. What was the last one you said? What I told my players?
Now, what do you tell players about how to react to responding to racist taunts on the ice?
Oh, man, that hasn't happened yet to any of my players. It hasn't. I have been an assistant coach with the Stars. We had one black player. Never happened to him. And he left the team too, but not for that reason. That's for other reasons. And he took my hockey video. Still haven't seen it. But it's never happened to any of my players. If it did, I would definitely know. Look, I'm behind you, and depending on the game and the severity, like if you're in a rank where it keeps happening, I'll pull my team off the ice.
Yeah.
I would. I try to separate the review from the Chesapeake Regional Hockey Review from coaching, but the coaching me, I will walk my team off the ice if I have to, because it's not a part of the game. And if someone says, "Hey, you just gotta take it," I'll be like, "You know what? So do you. Bye."
Oh, absolutely.
But also, don't get me wrong. I will. How you doing? I will also say, you know what number was it? All right, fair game. We can hit in this game, right? Get him on the ice.
Yeah.
Put him on the ice. Score some goals.
Now, going back to what we discussed earlier about how some people say, it never happened to me.
Yes.
Many white people speak about reverse racism in the United States.
Yeah. Oh, you say my thoughts on it? Yeah. Any form of racism, unfortunately, at all. It doesn't solve the whole issue. It really doesn't. The reverse racism is kind of like, I feel like there's different parts to it. Kind of like, I want you to feel what I felt, or I want you to feel what my people have felt. That's hard because, for one, it's not like someone pinched you, you're gonna pinch them back once you feel like what I felt. Like pinching 2 seconds. Okay, I get it. You pinched me, I pinched you. We're even. I don't think it's a point to get even because you're just escalating the incidents. Does reverse racism happen? Sure it does. Yeah, it definitely does. Why? I think the why is very important. Why? People are angry. They're angry, and the thing is, I think folks want to harness the anger, but it's like sometimes anger just happens, and when you harness it, you make it worse. You make it a lot worse, as you can see with the protest and then the counter, like, hey, whatever someone said to the protest. But it's like, I forget the quote now. It's with the riots. Not the protest, but the riots. Am I a fan of rioting? No. But do I understand why people do it? Yes, I do. That doesn't mean that I would do it, but people are very angry over years. But the issue is, that's deep, because you really want to avoid saying, you know what, this has happened to my people. Now I'm going to let it happen to you. It's almost like, who's going to be the person to say, just stop this. Everyone stop, and let's back up. Let's take a deep breath, whatever that means. Take a deep breath and see how we can not reverse the curse, or if you want to say, let's see how we can stop the flow. There we go, stop the flow.
Sounds great. Yeah, perfect. Now, racism obviously requires power and control. Do you believe that reverse racism needs that same effect and is married together, where a certain group still needs that power to control that situation, or you think it can be more?
Ooh, Johnny, what the questions today? I'm at the beach. Wow. So the power to stop that?
Yeah.
That's good. Maybe. I'm gonna say this one. So power to stop reverse racism. You know, it's gonna take time. I think that's something that time will definitely tell. Now, I'm a believer of exponential change. I believe something can happen like, quickly. It can have forms very quickly that can show a change. I believe that. So it's kind of saying like, because racism happened to a whole lot of races. It's kind of like saying, all right, if Black people are being having racism happen to them, is it the white race to stop this? I mean, you can there's support for sure. And again, going back to that league analogy, I wouldn't call it a numbers game. Well, hey, it's not happening. It's not going on here is prevalent. So why bother? But again, we're all a unit. So is one race supposed to end this? No, I don't think so. No, not one race. I think it can one race recognize the history of behind it. Yeah, of course. We definitely don't want to repeat history, but history is just for looking at it as a reference and shying away from that, not repeating it. Looking what was happened, living the gift of today and in hopes of tomorrow. So can one race specifically, if you use that analogy, white versus black, white on black racism, can one race stop it? No, it's collective. I do think it's collective.
And so I think we were speaking about, I think the best thing we can do as a society, just try to, in any issue, just try to leave the world a little bit better than we found it.
Oh yes,
And
for sure.
If we can leave our next generation a little more empathetic, a little more open to that we're all one people, no matter what we look like.
Yeah.
That will make one small difference, because in the end, it is going to be a generational change.
Oh yeah. I think we've seen a lot of that. Generations have gotten a lot better. Hugging my son here. They've as you see how many people they are protesting now. It's like, look at who's out there. Young people too. 20, it's like they've like, look, we've had enough. We've been here for 2 decades and we've had enough. That's what they're saying. Like, people been here for 7 decades and they've had enough. But in their efforts, they were given. They did a great job. That's the decade that was alive during the civil rights. No matter what the race was. So, and it's like, we're 20. We are the grandchildren of those 7 decaders, or be children or something. Why do we have to put up with this? I think the young crowd's tired of it. Even my generation, we're tired of it. I wasn't operated in my home. We didn't talk about that. We weren't saying, we weren't. I loved growing up. I always had diverse neighborhoods. Love my school, my high school, college. We all integrated, and it actually leads me to something else too. Are there times when you need to be segregated? I do think so. I do think there are times, but only when you're trying to bring your race together for a better outcome, like having like a small group. Yeah. I think that's important. It's like the NHL, NBA, WNBA type of thing. They talk and they come together. Okay, this is what we do.
That goes into my next. What I was going to ask you next about colorblindness and how it supports or hinders combating racism.
Oh, the breeze is here. You said the what? Colorblindness?
How does colorblindness support or hinder combating racism?
Ooh, colorblindness. I don't see color. I see people. that's cool. I see people too. I'm not the dude in Fifth Sense. I don't see dead people, but I see people. I just think it's you guys see the Ferris wheel? Sorry, I'm gonna give you a nice background. I see why people say they're colorblind. They don't see color. But the fact of the matter is, come on, we all see color. There's nothing wrong with color. We all had to be born in this earth some color. And guess what? We didn't control those colors too. So they are given to us for a reason, and it should be great. Can it help it to not see color? I don't see color. I see people. It'd be great if people just see others for their inner selves. But one thing, I've never seen anyone's insides unless I was, in PT school. When I was in PT school, we had cadavers. That's the only time I saw an inside, and the person wasn't able to talk because they were a cadaver. The only other time you see insides is on a movie or go to a museum. So you got to see the outside first. And then, what they say, how they act, maybe what they write, or how they look from afar, like how their, body position. And that can probably tell you, oh, yeah, that person looks happy. Happy is the inner thing. It can be outside too. That person looks approachable. I think people get that mixed up. It's like, you don't see color. How do you not see color? Like, I'm right here. Yeah. But one thing I think people need to do is talk. I know we're all wearing masks now, but I think the more people talk to people, the better it is. When they get educated, they talk to people and they realize, oh, okay, well that's a nice person, intelligent man, intelligent woman. I was looking at really quick. I was looking at an Oprah clip yesterday. I forgot who put it up. There's on Twitter. I don't know who the person was. There's a time where she went to this sundown town. I never heard of him until yesterday. And she interviewed this crowd, and she was like, what is the difference between a black person and N-word? And he told them, like, the black person comes to the town and doesn't create an issue, but the N-word does. And it was like, really? That's what you all think for real? When I heard that, I was like, okay, so you just defined that anyone can be an N-word. Anyone. By saying that, you mean anyone, because anyone can come in as their color that you see and not create an issue. But if they act a certain way, then they're just causing a ruckus. That's anybody.
I also feel personally that colorblindness takes away from culture.
What do you say?
That colorblindness takes away from culture, and I can go across race as well. And I can go to my background, I can go to your background. That once you start generalizing people like that, you take away from our diverse backgrounds. You start losing that cultural identity.
You do. You definitely do. And we need that cultural identity for real. It's so important. It's what made a lot of us. So yeah, I love being in cultural background, cultural societies, communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that my culture. The more I learn about my personal background, I feel that I'd say more inclusive. But I learn about things in my family's history. For me personally, I found out that I have ancestors who were Holocaust survivors.
Oh, wow.
And, learning about that, you see how things in my history relate to what's going on now.
See, that's interesting, man. That's some history. I hope that you learn all you can and save that info to pass it on to generations. That's important.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And I think that once you start saying that so-and-so is just white, so-and-so is just black, and you start grouping people into, just that, you'll lose that background on everyone. That, so-and-so may be black, but he's Jamaican, and this is his Jamaican history.
Yeah, and that leads. That could segue into other stuff too. It's just, and we're all. It's yes. Oh, sorry, I'm getting asked a question. Where you see different cultures. You said Jamaican. You've got the entire continent of Africa. Then you have Europe and all the nations in there too, and Asia, all the nations in Asia too. It's like, man, you guys are everyone's so alike. It's not even funny.
We're so alike, but And that's what
Yeah.
makes us so special.
Yeah. Just people.
Yes. Now, going back to that colorblindness, when someone like me, who is a white male, asks, "What can I do to help right now?" What would your response be?
Oh, I would definitely say, you can, if you feel inclined to reach out to someone who you think is affected by the current condition of the nation and world too, as this happens, reach out. I had a close friend of mine. Well, in grade school, we were really close, best friends, Caucasian female. She emailed me and says, "Hey, just checking in on everything with everything going on." I thought that was kind of cool. It's very different because you don't expect that, and just because you don't check in on someone doesn't mean you don't care. You just may not know how, or may feel like I don't know what's happening right now. But I don't hold it against any of my white friends I've met in my life, or even coach. I don't hold it against them. It's like you may not know what to say. Maybe there's nothing to say, which very well could be the case too. But when that happened, reaching out is one that really helped. That felt good. It was like, oh, we're talking about something we have never talked about, and I've known you for 35 years. But now, because of what's happening, we're talking about it, and it's totally fine. Talking is great. Talking is a power. That is power. People have to talk. You got to talk, and then action follows. Got to do some action. So, maybe having town hall. I don't want to say town halls. Meetings where other races show up, deliberately doing things. When I went to Northeastern for physical therapy school for a few years, I saw an email that said, "Hey, we're having," I forgot what it was called. It was like talking about races, different races. And I was like, okay. It was put on by the Asian American Association there. I'm thinking there's going to be a whole lot of people there of all different nationalities, but it actually wasn't. It was a lot of people from different countries in Asia and myself. And I was like, see, this is where we go wrong, because we need more people to come out here and deliberately just be here to learn. Just go learn. So that goes back to the whole thing. Like, does it affect us? Should we go? Should we do this? No, it doesn't affect us. But deliberately. What I mean by that is, if something happens in a Black community, racial, like you see right now, man, you know what'd be powerful? If in another Caucasian community got together and said, what can we do about this? And came out and did something. Now that could be happening as well, but that's powerful. And the reverse too. Because, if something happens in a white community, we're just like, look, man. And the Black community, like, look, that's my brother over there who I went to school with. And they thought about something, and then they went, look, this is how we can help. That's powerful too. It's rare, but it's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it looks like you're about to lose daylight soon. So,
I guess so.
Yeah, is there any last things you want to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah, man. Really, I just hope everyone's safe and healthy, and there's a
So with me, Derek? Looks like we might have lost his connection. It looks like at least we got through the whole interview before we lost him. If you can still hear me, Derek?
Facebook. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we still got you. Okay.
Yeah, there's people on social media who say dumb stuff, so don't let them get you down at all. Don't let the news get you down. Real quick, did something AOL.com and Yahoo.com did a little something years ago. The first 20 articles, out of those first 20, 16 are meant to put you in a bad mood. There's bad news for the first 20 articles. There's 16 out of 20 articles, all bad news. So do what you can to be better. Be a better person.
That's great. All right, I appreciate you coming on, Derek.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Hopefully we'll see you at ring soon.
All right, I will be.
All right, thank you again.